my voice. So day 3, how we doing? All right. I'd like to thank you for getting out of bed, first of all, because I did that and it was hard. I didn't think Erica would let me Skype in this morning. So I have good news and bad news this morning. The good news is you probably won't fall asleep. The bad news is you may wish you could. This is, I was joking with some people last night. I said, my deck is not funny at all. They said, you're so funny on Twitter. I'm like, no, this deck will not be funny at all. And no one believed me, but this is kind of your wake-up call today. I originally called this Beyond 10 Blue Links, How to Rank in 2018. And besides deciding that maybe that was a little dangerous, I was doing my research and putting together these slides, and I realized this is not a presentation about where Google will be in 5 years. This is not about where we will be in 2 to 3 years. This is where we are now. And this is not about where your SEO needs to be in 5 years. This is about where you should have been yesterday. And very few of us are here, and my slides are already moving without me. So as Cyrus said, I run the MozCast project, and it's been amazing and gratifying. And I've learned a lot, but it's also been frustrating in a lot of ways. The algo is extremely complex. I get angry with Google, but I have a lot of respect for what they've built. And it's very noisy. It's changing a lot. And what I realized along the way that we have these 10 blue links we're used to, but there's this entire world of SERP features that are expanding around that are revolutionizing what we do. And I don't think we always realize it because we're so fixated on this ranking number. And so I want to share today, I built a system that essentially tells me every morning if Google has done anything new. And I thought this would be a once a month kind of thing, and basically every day this thing is chirping at me. And so this deck is about that system in a lot of ways. So first of all, do you remember this? 10 blue links. Number 1 was at the top. And after number 1 came number 2. That was crazy. That's how it used to be. And then this came along. We had the 7 results SERP, which also had expanded site links. And suddenly number 1 got 7 links. And we had a new way to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2. And if you were number 2, it wasn't what it used to be, and maybe life wasn't so good anymore. And if you were number 8, you were now on page 2. And one of the things we discovered with MozCast was that this hit something like 18% of SERPs out the gate. And so for number 2, things changed overnight. About the same time this happened, you may not have seen this. This is an image mega block. It's a 7 result SERP with images at the top. So we've got ads. We've got some pretty rich ads. And then we've got this image block, and number 1 is, oh no, that's a 7-pack of local. There we go, number 1. A page and a half down on a high-res screen. So you know, if you were genography.net and you're looking at your rankings and you're going, still number 1, you may have missed something. Your world got a whole lot different that day. Then, of course, there's personalization. I'm not going to get into it too much. This is my boss, Mr. Fishkin. I search for him, and page 1, I have 1 depersonalized SERP. And then there's this. And when I get a criticism about MozCast, it's almost always the same thing. I don't worry about the algo because I'm white hat and I'm so amazing. None of my clients, none of my 3 clients in the last 3 months have ever been affected by an algo change. I don't break the rules. What if you're this guy, XC.com? This used to be a pretty competitive market, the currency converter sites. They get a lot of ad clicks. And all of a sudden, you wake up one morning and you see this. Google has added this widget, and it's nice, and they're Google, and we trust them. And there's a graph, and I can type it in, and I can get my dollar to euro or euro to dollar conversion, and I'm done. And you're still number 1, congratulations. But your whole world changed overnight. And it's entirely possible, even though there is a little spam in this industry, it's entirely possible that you did nothing wrong at all. Google just changed the rules overnight, and your world changed with it. I did this for SlideShare, so I apologize. I don't want to say rankings don't matter. As Will said yesterday, rankings are a diagnostic. They can be incredibly important as part of our process. But if all you know is the number, if all you know is I'm number 1, number 2, number 5, you don't know anything. This world is changing. So in the next 10 minutes, I have 85 screenshots of SERP features, some of which you've seen that are familiar, but that go beyond the 10 blue links that for the most part are not advertising. There's a lot going on with AdWords too. And I think there will be something for all of you that you may not have seen in this. And this deck will be available for download. I'm going to go very fast, and I'm going to go very fast on purpose because I want you to see the totality of what's out there. Ooh, I may be doing a lot of backtracking. This is an expanded domain site link with 10 links. This popped up a week or two ago for domain searches like apple.com. Before the 7 result SERPs and the 6-pack of links, Google used to play with that number a lot, so we may see more of that. Almost above the fold being number 1 here. Related searches, we've all seen this, the bottom of page 1. When it happened, it was a little revolutionary. It did sort of derail people and maybe not take them to page 2. This is a weird one. Similar searches we're seeing. Here's a SERP with only 3 results, and yet you look at the top and it says there are 167,000. What Google is basically saying is, we don't think we have a very good match to this, so we're only going to show you 3, and then we're going to throw you some other stuff. And we're starting to see that pop up. This is your regular image search, your horizontal bar. This is your mega pack we just talked about. I do enjoy a taco. God love this guy. I actually went to Taco Bell more after this guy. He just made tacos exciting. So here's your news pack. That's gotten pretty rich. We have the publisher, the time, the thumbnail with it now. Videos, that's gotten very rich. Thumbnails are very attractive. Do I want to read 13 steps to build a taco on WikiHow? Or a 47-second videos? I have no attention span. I'm going to click that video. Here's a recipe review. This is just like a product review. We've got star ratings. We often have a thumbnail with that. This is authorship. We talk a lot about authorship. You get a thumbnail. You get your Google Plus circle count. This is a nice one. She's got 2 expanded site links. Here's one where number 1 is actually a lot richer than it used to be and probably dominating the clips. Here's a mini authorship where Google said, well, this is a recipe, and we're going to give it a thumbnail, but they also should probably get authorship, so we're going to put a little tiny picture of the person underneath that. I think you're going to see more combos. This is my boy JT. He's going to pop up a lot. I do have a little man crush on him. Under JT tickets there, you see these event site links. This is a micro format. You can do this with, what's the site? I'm blanking. But with schema. This is one of the very few things in this deck, unfortunately, that you can do with micro formats. So enjoy it while it lasts. These are under the Major Spice Dispensers. These are search result snippets. These are a little weird. Google actually rewrites your snippet based on seeing product search results and puts a count at the top and then doesn't link them, which is one of their worst snippet rewrites, I think. But if they do it to you, not much you can do. These are forum site links. Webmaster World has a ton of them. They do go straight to posts. I don't think you control this one either. This is a new knowledge graph feature, the disambiguation box. Google has a very interesting idea about dominant intent. So when I search for something like Apple, they actually assume that I meant Apple computers because most people are searching for iPad, iPhone, et cetera. But they're willing to say now, maybe when you typed in apples, you actually meant that fruit, that thing that's been around for centuries. So you could click on that instead. This is a Google Plus brand box, which really stands out. Shows you followers. You can follow people directly from there. You've got links to recent posts. Google is just creating that out of the blue. This is sponsored links. This is paid product placement, which is really starting to dominate. I mean, they just stand out a ton. You may have seen these, but there are some other variations now. This is over on the right in the knowledge graph space, which is a little confusing. If you're a UX person, you might wonder, why did they put that over there with knowledge graph? And maybe they're trying to attract clicks, and maybe they're trying to confuse people a little bit. But it's attractive. I mean, that's a ton of products, a ton of info. Here's a single product paid shopping placement. This is a very competitive area, specific camera models. And now over on the right, you've got product description, reviews, a picture, bundle options, some of the technical specs, and all these reputable places I can buy it and how much it costs. You know, what just happened to all the product comparison sites? What just happened to everything on the left? That, for a regular consumer, even for us, that's an amazingly sticky bit of information, and it's all bought and paid for. Credit cards. Google decided that industry was so spammy or so lucrative that they just stepped in and took it over. That is a Google property. Those aren't just paid searches. Those aren't paid. Those are actually owned by Google now. So, you know, how competitive was Compare credit cards before this came in? And overnight, their whole industry is different. So some stuff you're familiar with. This is the regular map inlay. This is a traffic map. I don't know why they put it on the left. This is a 7-pack. 7's the most common. They can run anywhere from number 1 to number 8, I think we found. This is a near box. It used to be the places box. It's kind of like a pack, but there's only 2 or 3, and it's usually a little more targeted. This is the authoritative 1 box. I think Mim called it something different. Whatever he calls it, that's what it is. I always take his word for it. But this is like a local result, but it's integrated with the organic SERP. And so if you've got this and you've got site links now, that's a much richer experience. And of course, the 1 box leads us over to the knowledge graph. This is not a toy. When this launched, I think we all saw it and we thought, SideWiki 2. You know, what is this bullshit over on the right? And what's Google going to do and take away in 3 months? This is the beginning of semantic search. It is bleeding into organic, and it is becoming incredibly influential, and it is changing search, and I'm going to try and convince you of that. But here's one for my local zoo. We got a little description. We got some information. We scroll down. There's the GAT ratings. You can jump right to that. And then they've got this beautiful, colorful people also search for, if I get to the end and don't find what I want, with sort of all their competitors, which is a little weird. And we actually saw this for a major brand the other day. At the end of their KG box was a beautiful color list of all their competitors. And you click on one of these, and you might think, well, I'd go straight to that person's site. You go to this carousel, which technically Lincoln Park Zoo is under there with a KG, but this carousel dominates. And we're going to see a lot of carousels, and this is popping up all over the place. JT again, here's his celebrity bio. We start with the pictures. We've got some information, vital stats. We can scroll through his upcoming events. I can scroll through songs. I can scroll through albums. I can go look at some other people. And I want you to understand something about it. I want you to look at this for a minute. Let's go back. This is an incredibly competitive query. And what happened? We came over to the pictures to see what's going on. And we took an entire journey down the right-hand side of the SERP. And what's all that noise over on the left? That's all the organic space we fight for, and nobody fucking cares. Because they're going to come here, they're going to go to the top, they're going to follow all of this rich content, they're going to probably click on something over here, they might go to these people also search for and find something else, but all of this incredibly valuable California oceanfront real estate on the left that we paid millions of dollars for, we didn't even see it. Everything about this has changed. This has become an entire experience in the SERP that has taken us out of 10 blue links. And I think if you're in these spaces, you're going to be amazed at the change, and not in a good way. So here we have an album carousel. We can click through those. JT's been in some movies. I liked it. Most people didn't. We'll talk about that later. Here's a knowledge graph box for books if you're into that whole reading thing. It's fun too. Here's a book carousel. That's pretty cool. Here's some boring ones. Geographic information. I mean, Door County is beautiful, but I don't really need to read about it. A lot of medical stuff. Some information about sleep disorders. Here's a knowledge graph about Tylenol. Here's related health searches, which are really weird because they have their own snippets, and instead of being at the end of the SERP, they're at the beginning. Don't know why. This is a weird priority SERP that Google writes. They actually pull it from NIH. They put it in a different font, and it's just given special treatment for no reason. Nice to be them. All the sites that used to list these emergency numbers, no, that's all right in Google now. Symptom treatment boxes popping up. This is actually pulled out of 3 different sites, and then they make an answer box out of it and sort of just circumvent those sites at all. And number 1 is way down there, so there you go. Track your UPS package. UPS didn't need those pesky impressions and page views. Well, I know the local time, sunrise, sunset. Need to do a little math, there you go. Maybe you need a graph. Maybe you need a 3D graph. I don't know what that, I just stole all these from Google. My math is not nearly there. Oh, conversion stats. You know, how many sites used to do this? No, we took care of that for you. There's another one. I don't know why they do this. Some things pop up a calculator, some things pop up the answer. I assume it's because no one in 2013 ever converts qubits to spans. So, because you're slackers. Definition box. Hey, dictionary.com, screw you. You know, we'll put it right in there. Translation box. Here's earthquake information. It looks like a snippet, but it's not. Google's actually adding that to the top straight from the government website. Population box. This is pretty cool. Get your population trend graph and comparisons for other cities. The travel world. Things are getting a little hot. This is a flight answer box with, from flights to Chicago, so it gives me some general information. Some airlines have status trackers right in their KG box, but we're not seeing that in the US for some reason. I can type my flight number straight into Google. You know, hey, United, American, you didn't need that sticky experience where people come back to your site and upsell and do all that stuff and you make money. Nah. You don't want that. There are paid results in Travel Now. That's just book my flight straight through there. Here's another variation. I can search flights that way. Hotels, no, you're not safe either. Google's stepping in on your territory. Movies, I can look at my show times, find out all about it right there. If I know the theater, hey, don't need to go to their website. This is a weird one. Web designer, pretty competitive. A lot of people who fight for that. Brings up a box with the World Wide Web inventors, and then a knowledge graph that tells me that the World Wide Web is a video game platform. I thought it was a porn platform, so I was a little surprised. But can you imagine all the Q&A we get for web designer, you know, web designer plus city or web designers plus city, and they woke up one morning and they saw Tim Berners-Lee and video game platform, and they thought, what the fuck? Relationship graph. Who's Ben Stiller's father? There's a bunch of these. How tall is, how old is. Google's expanding these like crazy. You have to be famous. None of them work for me. That's sad. Dates. What's Dr. Seuss's birthday? There you go. Holidays. You missed it. I'm sorry. I hope you sent your mom a card. This was an entire industry before. Thousands and thousands and thousands of ad impressions and people making a small fortune on these sites that just told you when holidays were, which was a useful thing to know. You're done. Don't quit your day job. Sports. Remember ESPN and those websites and their stuff? Oh, I can look at my box score right there. I can look at my division standings. I can look off my play-up standings. You can tell I live in Chicago. You know, go Hawks. Bracketology, March Madness. And even your widget below the fold, I can just do it all there. Awesome. Sorry, ma'am. I know he gave up already on that, but you know, it was good timing. Here's a weird one. I have 3 queries that are almost the same that do 3 totally different things. So this was James Bond movies. Gives me an answer box with a weird, are those all Sean Connery ones? Those are all very early. That's all I remember, but not exactly complete. Type in Narnia movies, I get an answer box with all of them with the movie posters. Type in Harry Potter movies, and I get a carousel. It's all kind of neat, but I don't know what Google's doing there. Another carousel, the best of. You can do things like best comedy movies, best Will Ferrell movies. There's a ton of these. Things to do, this is when they started to encroach on the local space. Tourist information, team rosters, there's a bunch of these, almost all the pro teams, some semi-pro, some college. And then we got the local carousel, and things got crazy. Pack results disappeared on these, and as Annie talked about yesterday, these don't go to Google Plus listings. We think they probably come out of that. They go to another search for that same property and basically keep you within Google. So this is changing daily. Stock tickers, straight in Google. Weather dominates above the fold. You know, how much money lost there for sites? Nutrition box, nutrition kg. This is an April Fool's joke, but I only put it the aroma graph. I only put it on there because it shows you just how quickly they can add completely new features right in the knowledge graph. This is in testing. We haven't seen it roll out live yet, but it's tiled images, and they are not a regular result. They seem to be knowledge graph. This is the in-depth news box, which we've seen pop up in testing. This is an entirely new news result. We've got giant photos, big placement for major brands. Really takes up a lot of real estate. I've seen that in testing for a couple of weeks now. I think it's going to roll out. So you heard about hotels and insurance and credit card, or travel and credit card comparison. Auto insurance in the UK, you can enter a quote right in there. That's paid. In the US, this is not rolled out, but we saw this in testing last week. Paid comparison of the major brands. If you are in any kind of insurance comparison industry, I expect that your world will be rocked in the next month. You might be thinking, these are the crazy exceptions to the rule that you found in all your sleepless nights, and I do that. But in June, across the 10,000 SERPs we track in the beta for MozCast, if I just look at the ones that had 10 results, no vertical, no news, no local, no video, no images, no knowledge graph, no paid inclusion, no authorship, 15% were 10 blue links. 85%, and this isn't just even the weird stuff, this is the regular vertical, non-standard SERPs, 85% had some kind of rich information. That was in June. That's today. All right. We'll breathe a minute. No, that's not it. It gets worse. Hey guys, this is not funny at all. You guys are hosts. 7 results SERPs just the beginning. Bing announced that they were going to start showing 4 to 8 results on page 1. And here's the important part. It would be based on user signals. So if they show a SERP and number 5 gets no clicks, number 5 will go to page 2. They will change the SERP based on the activity. I think Google will do this too. I don't think they'll do it exactly the same way, but I think it'll happen. Local searches don't even have SERPs anymore. You know, this is Google Maps on the iPhone. And what happens when you search for pizza, you get pins on a map because that's what you want. You want to find what's near you. And maybe they'll have one listing sometimes. And I know what you're going to say. This is mobile, and now we have iPads, and we have all this stuff. And so eventually, mobile is going to be more like desktop, right? No, desktop is going to be more like mobile. This is the new Google Maps. If you haven't seen the beta, it has no SERP at all. It is pins on a map on your desktop. And that's where local is headed. And in fact, it's pins on your map on the desktop plus a Google Plus layer, so I can actually see what's near me that my friends like. So mobile will not go back to desktop. It's going to go the other way around for local. And there's no SERP at all. This is Siri, digital agents. Siri spits me back 3 results, but when Siri has the answer someday, again, there won't be a SERP. There will just be an answer. And this is Google Now, where there's no query at all. And Bill Slawski just wrote a good piece about parameterless searches. Google is trying to say, here's what you want to know. Here's your local weather. I live in the Chicago burbs. Here's this package my exciting life of furnace filter replacements. Here's what we think you want to know before you type anything at all. How do you rank in a SERP where there's no query? How do you optimize for a keyword that doesn't exist? You don't. Can we do anything? This is very depressing. I wanted to make this really tactical at first, and I realized it was a mistake because I think we get so fixated on tactics, and we're missing a change in mentality. We're missing a broad strategic change we need to make. So I'm gonna try and talk to you quickly about that. First of all, I think this is how we behave sometimes. I know when you see it as a graph, you'll laugh and you'll say, no, that's not me, but this is how we talk. First there was on-page, and then links came in and they rewrote everything, which, a little bit. And then there were user signals, and we were all obsessed with that. And then there was social, and we had to get our tweets and likes and +1s, and they correlate really well, and we're really excited. And now there's authorship, and everything is authorship, and you gotta be an author, and you gotta go. But it doesn't work like this. We're not replacing each tactic with a new tactic. We're adding a layer of complexity. And so yes, I think for the most part, links still matter a lot in 2013, but all of these signals get added to the mix. And you know what that means? If you're trying to game any one signal, you will lose. You need a strategy that covers all of these and all of the things that will emerge in that column because no one piece is going to be enough. And when you try and game the system, you're almost always gaming one piece. This is an increasingly complex world. There is no one secret sauce. I have no affiliation with them, but I have to say that I ordered these for gifts. And that coffee balsamic marinade, Dr. Pete's, is the shit. So if you ever want to try it, I make no money off that. So we talk a lot about big brands. Big brands get all the advantages. We've heard brands all week long. And we're talking about authors, and authors are great, and you got to be an author, and you got to have authorship markup. And we get a little obsessed in these niches, and we forget to think about how Google defines these. What are these two things? What are brands and what are authors? And this ties into KG so much. These are entities. This is the web of things that Bing and Google are trying to build, the web of objects that represent our real world. And that's all that brands and authors are. They're things in the world. And Google's job is not to build the perfect, fair, egalitarian environment where everybody's equal. Their job is to model the world. And it was fun while it lasted. It was fun for us all to be able to be out there and just register a domain name and put up a few things and do business. But it wasn't ever going to last. Google's job is to model the real world. But the good news is you can be an entity. Entities don't have to be big. This is a local business in Chicago, Gene Sausage Shop. If you're out of Chicago, you've never heard of them. If you're in half of Chicago, you've never heard of them. But look, what do they have? They have a KG box, they have an authoritative 1 box, they have expanded site links. Google recognizes them as a brand because they act like a brand. They have a real name, they sell a good product, they get word of mouth, they get social naturally, they market like a real company. Will will be up here later. You've all heard Will's RCS, real company shit. You know what the problem is? Not the problem with us, not the problem with RCS. You can't fake it. It's right in the name, real. You can't fake that. And if you're not a real company, what's left? I'm going to do the math for you. If you have RCS minus RC, you know what you're left with? You're left with shit. You cannot do RCS and not be a real company, and you have to start to think like a real company and like an entity. This is what we do. And I don't want to bang on the tactics, but this is the low-value approach. You know, we buy and trade links. We stuff our title tags full of keywords. We count our followers. I got 50,000 Twitter followers. They're all bots, whatever. I bought them on Fiverr, but I got them. We spin out this bullshit to 100 different sites that makes us look stupid. That if anyone actually read would be an embarrassment. We buy -a-name.me. We fake local, and what I mean by fake local is we put whatever we do in Cincinnati, and we build a page for that, and then we build 5,000 pages. We're not actually in any of those places, but we build 5,000 pages, and we know pandas slap that hard. I'm not here to give you a white hat sermon. I'm here to tell you that the problem is this model. We do this to rank so that we can sell. We want to rank first so that maybe, hopefully, after we rank, we can sell. Why? What's our goal? What happens if Google changes the rules? Whether you did anything bad or not, whether it was a change in these SERP features, what happens if they change the rules and you don't rank? You don't sell. You've built a model. This is the funny thing to me. You think you're so smart. You think you've tricked Google. I'm going to get the man. I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to rank. You've tricked Google so that you can become 100% dependent on Google. Nice work. You showed them. Why do we do this? Our tactics don't really have to change, but the way we approach our tactics has to change completely. So what if we took the same basic set of tactics? Instead of buying and trading links, we build the things that attract real links. Instead of stuffing keywords, we target concepts. We talk about things knowledgeably. Instead of counting followers, we build a following, like Gene Sausage Shop. I don't care if you have 50,000. What if you had 500 really dedicated customers that really talked about you and were real people and really cared about what you did? That's what you need. What if instead of spinning out the same crap, we actually demonstrated our expertise? What if we made a name? They are not buy-tasty-Italian-sausage-cheap.net. They built a name. And what if we actually thought local? I'm going to tell you something that's uncomfortable, but the days where you, as a small or medium business, can be a national or international presence just because you're online are gone. You are not. You may not think of yourself as a local business, but you have a presence. You have a reach. And your reach is not national. Your reach is a certain group of people, a certain demographic, a certain area. That's okay. Focus on that. Be local in that sense. Local may be a customer base. Local may be an interest group. And what if we changed all these things, and instead of building to rank, we built to sell? And guess what would happen? All of these things also help us rank. But we would be building a real business. And if Google changed the rules, what would happen? Nothing. Yes, we'd lose some ranking, it'd be hard, but we would have built a structure that really sold, and we would be real businesses. And so that's my message. It's time to be a real business, and it's time to do real marketing.
Thank you for scaring the shit out of us, Pete.
I feel bad.
So when I was watching that, what you said at the end kind of justified some of the results we were seeing early on, some of the results that seemed to actually benefit from these, like Apple,
sure.
Some of the authorship names. So for people maybe a little confused, what are some of the things that actually counted as entities, such as people or a business? What are we trying to achieve when we say make ourselves an entity, rank, build entities?
Yeah, I think the people that are suffering the most right now, and we've seen it even with this multi-week update, are really the comparison sites, the thin affiliates, the people who Google doesn't see them as something that exists in the real world. And it doesn't have to be a brick and mortar kind of shop, but even the online shops like Etsy and such, they're real. They're an actual business. They do something unique. And all the sites that are just filtering other people's data and doing comparisons, and I think that's where we're in danger next. So yeah, it could be a person, place, or thing, but a movie is an entity. It just, think of it as what's the corollary in the real world of Kayak? I'm not saying they're not a great business, because they are, and I think they'll be around for a while, but that's where we start to see trouble. And if you're doing that with a lot of added value, that's great. But if you're doing that with no added value and you're just pulling in other people's stuff and slapping it on the site and calling it a business, you're not going to be around for long.
And Google will take that over.
And Google will take that over if they see the money in it. I mean, I hate to say it that way.
Yes.
Hey, Pete, great talk. So I'm going to posit something that Google could do, and I'd be interested to know if you think it is something that they ever would do. Do you think we're ever going to see the point where they say, look, don't bother buying a domain, don't bother having a website, just give us schema marked up a HTML from a local service or a JSON feed or an XML markup thing, and we will just we will build your website for you, right? You don't even need to have the site, we will just show it in SERPs. Because I mean, that's basically what they're doing with shopping, right?
Yeah, in some markets, maybe. I mean, we've seen it with like Yahoo Shopping in the past. We've seen it, even Google now kind of selling some SEO services where they're trying to say, oh, we can help you small businesses do that. Yeah, how long would it be before AdWords where they go, well, wow, all these people without websites can't advertise. I think we're already kind of seeing it with Google Plus business listings. You know, they're becoming richer, they're becoming, yeah, I don't think you'll see it on a large scale, especially here in the US, that we all have to have our own, we're a little obsessed with our own identity. But for the small business market, I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Cheers.
Shaw.
First of all, fantastic. Thank you. The idea that so much more of this information is right there on the page in Google, and that in a lot of cases people don't even have to go anywhere else. Do you think that's really just a natural consequence of them trying really hard to meet need? Or could it be perhaps that it's even a little bit more like, you know, the people who build shopping malls these days who make you walk round and round in circles so you go past all of the properties and you get the much better chance of spending your dollar? Is it more about keeping people in Google and not sending them out to web pages?
Yeah, I think it's both, and it's really hard to separate. I'm not a conspiracy guy. There are things I don't like about Google, and I think they have $50 billion, and as Rand said, maybe up to 80% SERP share, and that's a little dangerous. But it's hard. It is good for users in a sense. I mean, if I type in Mother's Day and it's right there, I like that. And it's also unfair. And they've also, you know, I've said to many people, they've built a walled garden around our yards. And that bothers me. You know, they make $50 billion out of our stuff. And they built something amazing. All credit to them. They built something incredible, but they've also sort of stopped recognizing that, you know, Robinhood was good for users if you got the money. You know, if he threw you the bag of money, that was good for you, but good for users isn't always the right thing to do. And I don't know, we're getting into gray area. The credit card thing bothers me. Paid inclusion bothers me. It's not transparent.
So does it almost, I kind of see where, now that it's also going that way a little bit more with Bing, that those major engines, are they almost putting themselves at risk of inviting a competitor to actually come in and give us back maybe some sort of control over what we want from a SERP?
It's possible, yeah. Yeah, I don't think, the danger of it changing so fast, and I think when Google started to actually seriously worry about Bing, they freaked out a little bit, and there is danger for them, yeah.
Thank you.
Pete, final question. 5-year plan, don't want you to reveal too much. Will we have MozCast for Google Glass?
MozCast for Google Glass. I'm such a late adopter, it's not even funny. I will have Google Glass in like 5 years. Now, I think real quick, the next thing we'll be getting into is some of these SERP features. We're tracking them. We're trying to do some cool things where you could go in and say, show me some keywords from last night that had knowledge graph and a local pack and some ads, and get back some examples and kind of do your research. So yeah, hopefully next couple months we'll see some stuff.
All right, thank you so much, Pete.
All right, thanks.